The last person to officially document a paradise parrot was a station manager near the town of Gayndah in 1927. He noted a pair, their brilliant red shoulders and long, elegant tails flashing as they flew low over the grassland. He had no idea he was witnessing a ghost. For decades after, there were whispers, unconfirmed reports from farmers, a fleeting glimpse by a bushwalker. But the parrot had already slipped into silence. This wasn't a creature hiding in some remote wilderness. It was a bird that had once been common in the open woodlands of southern Queensland. How does a species go from being a familiar part of the landscape to vanishing completely, leaving behind only questions and a coloured plate in a bird book? The story of the paradise parrot is the story of a perfectly tuned ecological machine, and how one by one its essential parts were stripped away until the whole system collapsed. To understand the tragedy, you have to understand the parrot's world. This wasn't a bird of the dense rainforest canopy. The paradise parrot was a creature of the ground, perfectly adapted to a specific and ancient rhythm. Its home was the open eucalypt woodlands, where a diverse understory of native grasses like Mitchell grass held the key to its survival. These grasses weren't just scenery, they were the parrot's entire supermarket. The birds would forage in small flocks, their strong bills perfectly designed for cracking open the fallen grass seeds that littered the ground. This specialisation made them incredibly efficient, but also incredibly vulnerable. Their entire life cycle was tied to this one food source. Their nesting behaviour was just as unique. Unlike many parrots that nest in tree hollows high above the ground, the paradise parrot chose a much more unusual and secretive home, termite mounds. They would excavate a tunnel into the side of a large terrestrial termite mound, creating a safe, temperature-regulated chamber for their eggs. This relationship with the termites, these incredible ecosystem engineers, was a masterpiece of coevolution. The parrots benefited from the stable environment, and there's speculation the termites may have benefited from the excavation itself. They had small home ranges, meaning they didn't travel far. Why would they? They lived in a world that provided everything they needed: food, shelter, and nesting sites, all within a finely balanced, stable environment. But that stability was an illusion. The world around them was changing faster than any specialized species could possibly adapt. The first and most devastating blow came from the hoof. With European settlement, cattle and sheep were introduced on a massive scale across Queensland. These livestock grazed the native grasses down to the dirt, consuming the very seed supply the parrots depended on. It wasn't just about eating the food. It was about altering the landscape itself. The complex structure of the grassland, which provided cover from predators and held the soil together, was trampled and simplified. The parrot supermarket was being systematically cleared out and bulldozed at the same time. Then came the fences and the axes. Land was cleared at an astonishing rate for agriculture, fragmenting the open woodlands into isolated patches. For a bird with a small home range, this was a death sentence. A population in one patch couldn't connect with a population in another. Genetic diversity plummeted, and localized disasters became catastrophic. If a fire wiped out one patch, that population was simply gone forever. This habitat fragmentation turned a continuous landscape into a series of ecological islands, each one more vulnerable than the last. Speaking of fire, the natural fire regimes that these ecosystems depended on were completely overturned. G. razzias began frequent burning to promote fresh, green pick for their stock. These hot, frequent fires swept through the country, destroying not just the grass seeds but also the termite mounds that were essential for nesting. A single fire could wipe out generations of potential nesting sites in an afternoon. The parrots were being squeezed from every direction. Their food was gone, their habitat was diced into pieces, and their homes were being deliberately burned. And then the final pressures arrived. Introduced predators, cats and dogs, found these ground-feeding, ground-nesting birds to be easy prey. The parrots had evolved to evade native predators like hawks, but they had no defense against this new wave of efficient hunters. To make matters worse, their incredible beauty made them a target for collectors. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, there was a frenzy to obtain their eggs and skins for private collections and museums, a practice that directly removed breeding adults from the already shrinking populations. Then the devastating drought of 1902 struck. It was the final straw for a species already on the brink. The delicate balance was not just upset, it was shattered by a cascade of pressures that amplified each other. It wasn't one thing that killed the paradise parrot. It was everything, all at once. The disappearance of the paradise parrot left more than just an empty space in the sky. It left a functional hole in the ecosystem. These birds weren't just consumers of grass seeds, they were dispersers. As they foraged, they would inevitably drop some seeds or pass them through their digestive system, helping to spread those native grasses across the landscape. With the parrots gone, that subtle but important ecological service vanished. The grasses became more confined, less resilient to change. The connection to the termite mounds was broken. For generations, the parrots had been a part of the life cycle of those mounds. Their excavations, while for their own benefit, may have aerated the structures or created entry points for other small creatures. It was a relationship we barely understood before it ended. The termite mounds remained, but they became quieter, less dynamic places without the seasonal activity of the parrots. An entire microhabitat was diminished. The ripple effects undoubtedly touched other species sharing that woodland habitat. The ground-feeding insects that thrived in the same grassy areas may have lost a companion species. The predators that occasionally preyed on the parrots had to shift their focus. The ecosystem lost a piece of its complexity, and with that, a piece of its stability. A diverse system can withstand shocks. A simplified system is far more fragile. The story of the paradise parrot is not a closed chapter. It's a prologue to an ongoing crisis. Queensland continues to have one of the highest rates of habitat destruction in Australia, with vast areas of woodland and forest still being cleared. The same pressures that doomed the parrot, land clearing, fragmentation, introduced species, are still actively threatening countless other species today. The parrot serves as a permanent reminder of the fragility of specialised species. Their extinction teaches us a brutal but essential lesson. Collapse rarely comes from a single dramatic event. It's almost always the result of cumulative pressures, a slow tightening of the screws where each new stressor makes the next one more deadly. It's death by 1,000 cuts. This history places a heavy responsibility on us to protect what remains. We have the evidence of what happens when we ignore the warning signs. The memory of the paradise parrot is a call to action, a demand that we learn from this tragedy and apply those lessons to the conservation of other unique Queensland species, from the black-throated finch to the northern quoll, before they too become just a memory. The paradise parrot story is a permanent echo in Queensland's ecology, a faint sound of what was lost that still resonates through the silent woodlands. It is a reminder that extinction is not always a loud, sudden event, but more often a quiet, cumulative process that unfolds right in front of us until one day we look up and realise something beautiful is gone forever. If this story of loss and the importance of conservation resonated with you, please explore our channel for more tales of Australia's incredible but vulnerable wildlife. Subscribe to Aussie Animals to ensure you don't miss our next adventure into the fascinating and often challenging world of native species conservation. Thanks for watching.